Planning. Planning is the process by which managers define goals and take necessary steps to ensure that these goals are achieved. Planning is deciding in advance what to do and how to do. It is one of the basic managerial functions. Before doing something, the manager formulates an idea of how to work on a particular task. Planning bridges the gap between where we are and where we want to go. Nature features of planning. Primary function of management futuristic, objective focused, pervasive, continuous process, and boss decision making mental exercise. Let's start with primary function of management. A plan is prepared before every other managerial function. Other managerial functions are performed within the framework of planned run. Planning is the basic function of management. So basically हामीले के बुझ्न पर्यो भन्दाखेरि प्लान चाहिँ कुनै पनि अरूहरू फङ्सनभन्दा पहिला बनाउँछ नि त अनि त्यहीको बेसिकमा अरू सबै काम हुने हो कि त्यहीको क्राइटेरियाभित्र होइन त्यही भएर त्यो चाहिँ बेसिक फङ्सन भयो कि फ्युचरिस्टिक Planning is the process of determining future course of action. A wise manager uses different tools of planning to minimize future risks and maximize benefit through his or her personal intellectual capacity. अब प्लानिङ त हामीले फ्युचर कोर्स अफ एक्सनलाई गर्ने हो नि त त्यही भएर म्यानेजरले डिफ्रेन्ट टुल्स युज गर्छ कि जसले चाहिँ त्यसको फ्युचर रिस्क चाहिँ कम होस् अनि बेनिफिट्स चाहिँ धेरै होस् कि त्यसले आफ्नो एक्सपिरियन्स अनि इन्टेलेक्चुअल क्यापेसिटी दुइटै युज गर्छ यसको लागि Objective focused. Plans are related with predetermined objectives of business organization. With the determining of objective, the way to achieve the objective is decided in the planning. अब प्लानिङ चाहिँ सधैँ अब्जेक्टिभसँग रिलेटेड हुन्छ कि किनकि यसको मेन उद्देश्य भनेकै अब्जेक्टिभ्सहरू फुलफिल गर्न हो नि त एचिभ गर्न हो नि त अनि अब अर्गनाइजेसनमा अब्जेक्टिभ्सहरू डिसाइड गरेर मात्र प्लानिङ हुन्छ कि यो वे टु एचिभ द अब्जेक्टिभ्स हो कि यसलाई पुरा गर्न हो कि होइन मेन बनाउने नै पर्भासिभ हामीले धेरै पढ्न नि पर्छ यो अरू रिलेसनमा नि युज हुन्छ यसलाई युनिभर्सल अथवा जताततै युज हुने टाइपमा भनेर नि सम्झिँदा हुन्छ प्लानिङ इज रिक्वायर्ड एट अल लेभल अफ म्यानेजमेन्ट एज वेल एज अल डिपार्टमेन्ट्स अफ द अर्गनाइजेसन इट इज एन एक्सक्लुसिभ फङ्सन of top management nor of particular department, but the scope of planning differs at different level and among different departments. Continuous process. Planning is a never-ending process because after making plan, also so one has to be in touch with the changes in planning or changing environment and in selection of the best. In other words, plans are prepared for a specific period of time, and after that, there is a need for a new plan to be drawn on the basis of new requirements and future conditions. प्लानिङ चाहिँ कहिले नि भ्याउँदैन कि किन भन्दाखेरि एउटा भ्याउनु बित्तिकै अर्को त गर्नु परिहाल्यो नि त किनकि इन्भाइरोमेन्टहरू चेन्ज भइरहेको छ अनि मान्छेलाई बेस्ट कुरा सेलेक्ट गर्नुपर्छ अनि त्यसपछि अब हामीले सर्टेन पिरियडको लागि टाइम बनाउँछ नि त अनि त्यो पिरियड त सकिन्छ नि त अनि नयाँ टाइमको लागि हामीले नयाँ प्लान बनाउनु पऱ्यो कि इन्भल्भ डिसिसन मेकिङ Planning becomes a necessity when there are many alternatives to do a job. A planner chooses the most appropriate alternative, therefore, planning involves decision making. अब प्लानिङ भनेकै के हो धेरै अल्टरनेटिभ्स मध्ये बेस्ट वान चुज गरेर राम्रो उद्देश्य छान्नु राम्रो प्लान गर्नु ताकि हाम्रो अब्जेक्टिभ्सहरू फुलफिल होस् त्यसको लागि डिसिसन गर्दा प्लानिङ चाहिँ एकदम चाहिन्छ कि मैले भने नि त सुरुमा यो बेसिक म्यानेजर फङ्सन हो अरू सबै यसकै फ्रेमवर्कमा काम गर्छ होइन mental exercise. Planning is known as mental exercise as it is related before doing to thinking before doing something. Planning requires logical and systematic thinking rather than guesswork or wishful planning. अब हामीले यत्तिकै गेस गरेर मात्र प्लानिङ गर्ने होइन कि लजिकल एन्ड सिस्टमेटिक वेले गर्ने हो अनि हरेक कुरा गर्नभन्दा पहिला थिङ्किङ गर्नुपर्छ नि त त्यही भएर मेन्टल एक्सर्साइज भयो कि Need importance rationale for planning. Planning is certainly important as it tells us where to go. It provides direction and reduces sense of uncertainty. Be prepared for forecast. प्लानिङ चाहिँ अब हाम्रो अनसर्टेन्टीहरू घटाउँछ यसले रिस्कहरू घटाउँछ त्यही भएर एकदम इम्पोर्टेन्ट हुन्छ अहिले कता जाने भनेर बताउँछ होइन यसको मेन इम्पोर्टेन्स पोइन्ट्स भनेको चाहिँ प्रोभाइड्स डाइरेक्सन रिड्युसेस द रिस्क अफ uncertainty, reduces overlapping and wasteful activities, promotes innovative ideas, facilitates decision making, establishes coordinated efforts, provides action. By stating in advance how to work, planning provides direction for action. If there is no planning, employees would be working in different direction and the organization would not be able to achieve desired goals. Reduces risks of uncertainty. Planning shows the way to deal with change and uncertain events. Change or events cannot be eliminated, but they can be anticipated, and managerial responses to them can be developed. Reduces overlapping and wasteful activities. Planning ensures clarity in thought and action. Work is carried on smoothly without interruption unless and related activities are minimized or eliminated. Promotes innovative ideas. Planning emphasizes the manager to develop or suggest new techniques in doing the things. It helps to grow innovative and creative thinking among managers for growth and prosperity of the organization. Facilitates decision making. Planning helps the manager to look into the future and make choice among various alternative course of action. It involves setting targets and predicting future conditions, thus helping in taking rational decisions. Establishes coordinated efforts. Planning gives direction to manager and non-manager alike. When employees know where the organization or work unit is going and what they must contribute to reach the goal, they can coordinate their action, cooperate with each other, and do what it takes to achieve the goals together. Planning process is a step or series of activities to be performed in order to achieve the goal of the major steps involved in planning process are analysis of environment, setting objectives, determination of premises and alternatives, evaluating alternatives, setting the best course, formulation of derivative plan, implementation of plan, reviewing the plan. Analysis of environment. Before framing out the future course of action, the manager should know about the questions why and for what purpose they need plan. In order to answer this question, a wise manager analyzes the business environment and explores future opportunities available to his or her company. Environmental analysis is necessary to know the strength and weakness, opportunities, and traits of a specific business. Analysis of environment is a primary step in planning process. Determination of objectives. Objectives are determined on the basis of output of environmental analysis. Objectives need to be specific, measurable, accurate, realistic, and timely. Objectives should be determined for the different level and department of the organization. Development of planning premises. The development of planning premises enables the manager to assume about the future and to be prepared to exploit the opportunity. The reliable premising manager implements the plan throughout the course without difficulties. Determination of alternatives. There might be several alternatives to achieve the objectives of the business or firm. It can be noted that the more the number of alternatives to help the choose the effective plan. Evaluation of alternatives. This is the process of evaluating the developed viable alternatives. The technique used in the evaluation process of alternatives depend on the nature and volume of business. The manager should evaluate the alternatives in the light of objective and planning premises, selecting a best alternative. Managers should consider the past experience, present market position, and future course of business form while selecting alternatives. Selection of one or more alternatives depend on the need of for business firm. Formulating of derivative plan. After selecting the best alternative, the manager have to prepare a detailed plan with a supportive plan. All supportive plan must be associated with major plan of form. Implementation of plan. Implementation of Plan is the process of taking plan and putting it into action. The work plan will serve as a guide for what it needs to be accomplished by whom and in what time frame. A budget should be prepared during planning process, which is accurately as possible reacts the true cost of program. Reviewing the planning. Planning is a continuous process in the business form. Managers in the business form are made alert enough to review the plan and planning procedure so that the weakness can be reduced to maximize efficiency and effectiveness in order to achieve predetermined goals. Planning is concise, systematic process of making decisions about goals and activities that an individual group, work unit, organization will pursue in future. And planning process is the step or series of activities to be performed in order to achieve the goals of the firm. Pitfalls or limitations of planning. There are a number of advantages associated with planning. However, there can be certain obstacles and limitations faced by the process of planning. It is time consuming and costly. Planning process can be very time consuming and costly. This reduces the practical utility of planning. If proper plan have not been formulated on time, such delay may cause a loss of opportunities in the organization. Lack of reliable data. The process of planning is based on different facts and figures that have been provided to the manager while they are involved in the process of planning. The purpose of planning can be defected if the managers are not provided with relevant data at the time of planning. Rigidity. Plans decide future course of action and managers may not be in position to change it. This kind of rigidity in plan may create difficulty. Managers need to be given some flexibility to be able to cope with changed circumstances. Expensive. Sometimes expenses for planning can be so high that it can be difficult for small enterprises to become involved in planning. Long term planning is out of reach for a large number of organizations due to heavy expenses that involve in it. Sudden emergencies. There can be cases where an emergency may arise. In such cases, quick action is required by the organization and therefore advanced planning is not possible. False sense of security. Irregular planning may create a false sense of security to the effect that everything is taken for granted. Employees are more concerned about the fulfillment of planned performance rather than any kind of change. Planning cannot be considered as a remedy for all problems faced by organization. Planning can only help in reducing uncertainties of future and that too up to a certain extent. On the basis of manager hierarchy, the plans are of three types: strategic, tactical, and operational. Corporate or strategic plan are overall objectives of the organization developed by top level management. This plan is the foundation of basic of the organization and based on long term vision which provides the reason for existence of firm. Tactical or division planning is a planning that involves tasks and resources to achieve the objectives prepared by middle level management and implemented by middle and junior managers. It is prepared for divisional activities and should be consistent with corporate plan. Operational or unit plan. Operational plan are developed to support tactical plan and prepared by lower level management. It is concerned with day-to-day operation. It can be single-use plan or ongoing plan. Single-use plan is non-repeating and non-recurring. Prepared by top-level management, it deals with what, where, and how much of an activity. Continuing or ongoing plan is usually made on only once and retain their value over the period of a year while undergoing periodic division and updates. A policy, procedure, rule, etc. can be example of it.